Hi everyone, welcome back. Hope you had a great week. If you remember last week, we were talking about the Ten Commandments and the beginning of God giving Moses the law, which is the foundation of Jewish law, pretty much how they had to live prior to Jesus. And we're going to continue with that. Again, it gets tedious. It gets kind of in the weeds a bit. I hope I'm using that expression correctly if you're younger than me. And anyway, it's tedious, but I think it's important to really have an appreciation for how difficult it must have been to try to live under these laws. So today we're going to read chapters 21 to 23 of Exodus. So let's just get started. It's kind of a long one. Chapter 21. Laws regarding slaves. These are the rules you shall lay before them. When you purchase a Hebrew slave, he is to serve you for 6 years, but in the 7th year he shall be given his freedom without cost. If he comes into service alone, he shall leave alone. If he comes with a wife, his wife shall leave with him. But if his master gives him a wife and she bears him sons or daughters, the woman and her children shall remain the master's property, and the man shall leave alone. If, however, the slave declares, I am devoted to my master and my wife and children, I will not go free, his master shall bring him to God, and there at the door or doorpost he shall pierce his ear with an awl, thus keeping him as his slave forever. When a man sells his daughter as a slave, she shall not go free as male slaves do, but if her master who had destined her for himself dislikes her, he shall let her be redeemed. He has no right to sell her to a foreigner, since he has broken faith with her. If he destines her for his son, he shall treat her like a daughter. If he takes another wife, he shall not withhold her food or clothing, or her conjugal rights. If he does not grant her these 3 things, she shall be given her freedom absolutely, without cost to her. Personal injury. Whoever strikes a man a mortal blow must be put to death. He, however, who did not hunt a man down, but caused his death by an act of God, may flee to a place which I will set apart for this purpose. But when a man kills another after maliciously scheming to do so, you must take him even from my altar and put him to death. Whoever strikes his father or mother shall be put to death. A kidnapper, whether he sells his victim or still has him when caught, shall be put to death. Whoever curses his father or mother shall be put to death. When men quarrel, and one strikes the other with a stone or with his fist, not mortally, but enough to put him in bed, the one who struck the blow shall be acquitted, provided the other can get up and walk around with the help of his staff. Still, he must compensate him for his enforced idleness and provide for his complete cure. When a man strikes his male or female slave with a rod so hard that the slave dies under his hand, he shall be punished. If, however, the slave survives for a day or 2, he is not to be punished, since the slave is his own property. When men have a fight and hurt a pregnant woman, so that she suffers a miscarriage, but no further injury, the guilty one shall be fined as much as the woman's husband demands of him, and he shall pay in the presence of the judges. But if injury ensues, you shall give life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, stripe for stripe. It's like the Hammurabi's code. An eye for an eye. It's in the Bible. When a man strikes his male or female slave in the eye and destroys the use of the eye, he shall let the slave go free in compensation for the eye. If he knocks out a tooth of his male or female slave, he shall let the slave go free in compensation for the tooth. When an ox gores a man or a woman to death, the ox must be stoned. Its flesh may not be eaten. The owner of the ox, however, shall go unpunished. But if an ox was previously in the habit of goring people, and its owner, though warned, would not keep it in, should it then kill a man or a woman, not only must the ox be stoned, but its owner also must be put to death. If, however, a fine is imposed on him, he must pay in ransom for his life whatever amount is imposed on him. This law applies if it is a boy or a girl that the ox gores. But if it is a male or a female slave that it gores, he must pay the owner of the slave 30 shekels of silver, and the ox must be stoned. Property damage. When a man uncovers or digs a cistern and does not cover it over again, should an ox or a donkey fall in it, the owner of the cistern must make good by restoring the value of the animal to its owner. The dead animal, however, he may keep. When one man's ox hurts another's ox so badly that it dies, they shall sell the live ox and divide this money as well as the dead animal equally between them. But if it was known that the ox was previously in the habit of goring and its owner would not keep it in, he must make full restitution, an ox for an ox, but the dead animal he may keep. When a man steals an ox or a sheep and slaughters or sells it, he shall restore 5 oxen for the 1 ox, and 4 sheep for the 1 sheep. Chapter 22. If a thief is caught in the act of house breaking and beaten to death, there is no blood guilt involved. But if after sunrise he is thus beaten, there is blood guilt. He must make full restitution. If he has nothing, he shall be sold to pay for his theft. If what he stole is found alive in his possession, be it an ox, a donkey, or a sheep, he shall restore 2 animals for each one stolen. When a man is burning over a field or a vineyard, if he lets the fire spread so that it burns in another's field, he must make restitution with the best produce of his own field or vineyard. If the fire spreads further and catches on to thorn bushes, so that shocked grain or standing grain in the field itself is burned up, the one who started the fire must make full restitution. Trusts and loans. When a man gives money or an article to another for safekeeping, and it is stolen from the latter's house, the thief, if caught, must make twofold restitution. That's so if I lend my friend Sally, a dress. I lend Sally a dress. Somebody comes into Sally's house and steals the dress. Steals my dress from Sally's house. If the thief is caught, the thief then must repay me with 2 dresses. That helps. If the thief is not caught, the owner of the house shall be brought to God to swear that he himself did not lay hands on his neighbor's property. In every question of dishonest appropriation, whether it be about an ox or a donkey or a sheep or a garment or anything else that has disappeared, where another claims that the thing is his, both parties shall present their case before God. The one whom God convicts must make a twofold restitution to the other. When a man gives a donkey or an ox or a sheep or any other animal to another for safekeeping, if it dies or is maimed or snatched away, without anyone witnessing the fact, the custodian shall swear by the Lord that he did not lay hands on his neighbor's property. The owner must accept the oath, and no restitution is to be made. But if the custodian is really guilty of theft, he must make restitution to the owner. If it has been killed by a wild beast, let him bring it as evidence, and he need not make restitution for the mangled animal. When a man borrows an animal from his neighbor, if it is maimed or dies while the owner is not present, the man must make restitution. But if the owner is present, he need not make restitution. If it was hired, this was not covered by the price of its hire. Social laws. And we're going to skip to verse 17. You shall not let a sorceress live. That's someone who practices witchcraft. Anyone who lies with an animal shall be put to death. Whoever sacrifices to any god except the Lord alone shall be doomed. You shall not molest or oppress an alien, for you were once aliens yourselves in the land of Egypt. You shall not wrong any widow or orphan. If you ever wrong them, they cry out to me, I will surely hear their cry. My wrath will flare up, and I will kill you with the sword. Then your own wives will be widows, and your children orphans. If you lend money to one of your poor neighbors among my people, you shall not act like an extortioner toward him by demanding interest from him. If you take your neighbor's cloak as a pledge, you shall return it to him before sunset, for this cloak of his is the only covering he has for his body. What else has he to sleep in? If he cries out to me, I will hear him, for I am compassionate. You shall not revile God, nor curse a prince of your people. You shall not delay the offering of your harvest and your press. You shall give me the firstborn of your sons. You must do the same with your oxen and your sheep. For 7 days the firstling may stay with its mother, but on the 8th day you must give it to me. You shall be men sacred to me. Flesh torn to pieces in the field you shall not eat. Throw it to the dogs. Chapter 23. You shall not repeat a false report. Do not join the wicked in putting your hand as an unjust witness upon anyone. Neither shall you alienate or allege the example of the many as an excuse for doing wrong, nor shall you, when testifying in a lawsuit, side with the many in perverting justice. You shall not favor a poor man in his lawsuit. When you come upon your enemy's ox or donkey going astray, see to it that it is returned to him. When you notice one donkey of the one who hates you lying prostrate under its burden, by no means desert him. Help him, rather, to raise it up. You shall not deny one of your needy fellow men his rights in the lawsuit. You shall keep away from anything dishonest. The innocent and the just you shall not put to death, nor shall you acquit the guilty. Acquit is to let them off. So if they're guilty, you don't let them go free. Never take a bribe, for a bribe blinds even the most clear-sighted and twists the words even of the just. You shall not oppress an alien. And again, in this context, alien we're not talking outer space, we're talking they're from another country. You well know how it feels to be an alien, since you were once aliens yourselves in the land of Egypt. Religious laws. For 6 years you may sow your land and gather in its produce. But the 7th year you shall let the land lie untilled and unharvested, that the poor among you may eat of it, and the beasts of the field may eat what the poor leave. So also shall you do in regard to your vineyard and your olive grove. For 6 days you may do your work, but on the 7th day you must also rest, that your ox and your donkey may also have rest, and that the son of your maidservant and the alien may be refreshed. Give heed to all that I have told you. Never mention the name of any other god. It shall not be heard from your lips. 3 times a year you shall celebrate a pilgrim feast to me. You shall keep the feast of unleavened bread. As I commanded you, you must eat unleavened bread for 7 days, the prescribed time in the month of Abib, for it was then that you came out of Egypt. No one shall appear before me empty-handed. You shall also keep the feast of the grain harvest with the first of the crop that you have sown in the field. And finally, the feast at the fruit harvest at the end of the year, when you gather in the produce from the fields. Thrice a year shall all your men appear before the Lord God. You shall not offer the blood of my sacrifice with leavened bread, nor shall the fat of my feast be kept overnight till the next day. The choicest first fruits of your soil you shall bring to the house of the Lord your God. You shall not boil a kid in its mother's milk. Reward of fidelity. See, I am sending an angel before you to guard you on the way and bring you to the place I have prepared. Be attentive to him and heed his voice. Do not rebel against him, for he will not forgive your sin. My authority resides in him. If you heed his voice and carry out all I tell you, I will be an enemy to your enemies and a foe to your foes. My angel will go before you and bring you to the Amorites, Hittites, Perizzites, Canaanites, Hivites, Jebusites, and I will wipe them out. Therefore you shall not bow down and worship before their gods, nor shall you make anything like them. Rather, you must demolish them and smash their sacred pillars. The Lord your God you shall worship. Then I will bless your food and drink, and I will remove all sickness from your midst. No woman in your land will be barren or miscarry, and I will give you full span of life. I will have the fear of me precede you, so that I will throw into panic every nation you reach. I will make all your enemies turn from you in flight, and ahead of you I will send hornets to drive the Hivites, Canaanites, and Hittites out of your way. But not in 1 year will I drive them all out before you, else the land will become so desolate that the wild beasts will multiply against you. Instead, I will drive them out little by little before you, until you have grown numerous enough to take possession of the land. I will set your boundaries from the Red Sea to the Sea of the Philistines, and from the desert to the river. All who dwell in this land I will hand over to you to be driven out of your way. You shall not make a covenant with them or their gods. They must not abide in your land, lest they make you to sin against me by ensnaring you in the worshipping of their gods. Like I said, it's a very elaborate law. And I'm very grateful that I don't have to try every day to keep to this standard. It's a different standard that we live under. Not saying it's easy, but it just makes me more grateful for what Jesus did on the cross. So on that note, I hope you have a great week. Let us close with the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. All right. I will see you next week. Bye-bye.